More on the Trump boom. Joining me now, Steve Forbes, Forbes Media Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, and Liz Peek, Fox News contributor. So, wait a second. Today, more numbers out. Just want to get through this. Manufacturing is now coming back like gangbusters, okay? 0.6%, 3.5% over the last 3 months. So manufacturing is doing very well. There is a boom in business equipment, business capex, business investment. 9/10 in January, 9/10 in December, 5/10 in November. It's almost 10% at an annual rate. And there's a boom in business equipment, factory orders, non-defense capital goods, ex-aircraft, blah, blah, blah. Orders are booming at about 7.5% last 3 months. Orders and shipments. You know, immediate 100% depreciation expensing is really having a big impact here. And I would argue this is a job creator, it's a wage creator, and it's a productivity creator.
Yeah, for sure.
All three. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, and particularly if it's related to AI, we know that's having a big impact already on productivity, and that's only going to accelerate over the next couple of years. At least that's the expectation, certainly, Larry. Remember when Barack Obama scoffed at the idea that we could ever bring manufacturing back? All it took was a president willing to impose tariffs, willing to present manufacturers with the appropriate economic incentives to do it. And what do you know? Manufacturing is on the increase, and it's been a long time. I think during the entire Biden presidency, it was on the decline.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You know, I mean, there are some industries like autos, which are not as strong, I think, as we'd like to see them. But generally speaking, I think, yeah, I think ISI Evercore talked today about how industrial production and orders, big tailwind for the economy toward 2026. I think that's happening.
You know what? We can get 5% growth this year. We could get 6% growth this year. We'll be a little short of. He'll get 15% growth over the next couple of years, Steve Forbes. But I want to read you. It's just some funny. Trump on Truth Social yesterday. The great economist Steve Moore. Steve Moore was in with him for a bit. President Trump has done something no one else has done. He has proven 22 Nobel Prize scientists wrong on the economy. Why is it? All right, Nobelists are wrong. The consensus is wrong. The CBO is wrong. The Federal Reserve is wrong. Nobody paid any attention to the things Liz is talking about, the incentives that he put in place, okay, lower tax rates on individuals and business, deregulation, drill baby drill. Why don't they have any sense or models that would show the success of that?
Because the models are wrong. You wrote about it in your book on the Kennedy tax cuts. Remember the investment tax credit that he put in in the early 1960s? Helped the economy get back on track again from all the recessions we had in the 1950s. So those things work. But they don't want to look at that. They have these crazy models. It's going to be one of the big things Kevin Warsh is going to have to tackle at the Federal Reserve. Those models are fundamentally flawed. And when you have flawed models, you get flawed predictions. Plus, you have the politics as well. Economists are human beings, and they have their own prejudices. Hello. And so
all left. They're all anti-Trumpers.
And that's the way they're taught. Economics needs a whole fundamental revision, reformation. I think it's going to come just because of results. And the key thing is here, if we get it right on the dollar, and that's going to be a big tackle for Kevin Warsh, get a stable dollar again. And I think the tariff thing, the Supreme Court will rule, and I think actually that'll bring stability because once you have a tariff, it can't change the next morning. So I think once we get this economy back on track, it's going to be very important for Europe. Reagan showed Europe in the 1980s how to get back on track, and it's a scandal that Europe's growth rates in this century have so lagged those of the United States. And so if we show how to do it, which we haven't done for a long time, then Europe will follow suit.
Rubio.
And guess what? We're going to have a much better world.
I agree.
And Japan, too.
Rubio tried to explain it to him. I mean, Trump tried to explain it to him at Davos. Rubio tried to explain to him at Munich. It was a really brilliant speech. I don't know if they'll follow through. I agree with your point of view.
I think, you know, what Secretary Rubio said in Munich was very important. He said, we're tied together. That's why we want you to succeed. And I think they're open to that message. You've had the Polish success over the years, the Baltic success over the years. I think even France is going to get the message. We don't have to grow at 1/10% for
That's a
year
tough
after
one.
year.
Why is it, Liz?
even the IMF has told
when
France.
these things happen, they can happen very quickly. There's nothing like an election, losing an election,
on
that
a
focuses
roll.
minds,
He's on a
politicians.
complete roll. This is
I want to add
exciting.
one thing about the models. You're completely right, and the investment tax credit is a good example. But you said the other day on your radio show that I hadn't heard anyone else say, which is there is no model input for deregulation.
That's correct.
And I actually think that is incredibly
That is
true.
correct.
So no economist is saying, wow, they're changing the clean air provisions, or they're doing this or that, or worker requirements. When the IMF came out and told the French to get their house in order and get rid of all their strangling work requirements, work rules that govern their unions and stuff, that was a real message that, yeah, deregulation really does matter. And it isn't in the models.
There's
I think
no
that's
channel.
true.
The fellow who has pointed this out, to his credit, he was on the show last week, sitting right there, Steve Myron, the
yeah.
Federal Reserve Governor,
That's
who was
right.
Trump's
That's right.
CA chair. And he wrote a very good paper on deregulation and the positive impacts on the supply side.
It's
but
interesting.
it's not in the Fed's model. It's not in the CBO model.
Yeah.
I dare say it's not in any Wall Street model. I'd like to go through house by house. It's a hard thing to do. Can I just get 20 seconds? Mondami, a huge property tax on New York City. What's it going to do to the city?
Well, I think he's really pushing for an
Real
income
fast.
tax on corporate and personal, and I think it's going to be a disaster.
How wonderful. Instead of
It
the
doesn't
property
even
tax.
matter. We have the highest property taxes and the highest personal and corporate income taxes in the country.
20 seconds. Take this guy out.
He's going to take himself out, because what he's going to do is destroy homeowners and landlords in this city, especially with rent controls. You can't. You're going to have a 10% tax increase.
That's what
so he
he
only
should-
gets 3 or 4. Wreck the city. We saw it in the 70s. New York will have to go down, and then it'll come back.
They're not even picking up the poop. That's what everyone's telling me. It's terrible.